Let me turn this down. Good evening. I'm coming live a bit late today, but I have this message that I really want to talk about. Give me a second here. I'm gonna give a brief introduction about what I am going live about, because it's not necessarily to do with our store. I am a gang stalking survivor, led by a man named John Ferreira. He owned a car shop named Automotive Techniques, located at 363 Bering Avenue in Toronto. The Instagram, I don't know if it's still up, was A Tracing, and they tried to recruit me to be a drug mule. I've been the victim of smear campaigns. They've tried to destroy my life and my business so that I have no other option but to be financially dependent on these people and to, lose my financial independence and basically, come back to them and take an offer. I think I'm one of many victims. I'm actually reading off of my YouTube. My YouTube is pinned here. It's called God's Way. I'm one of many victims of this career criminal, because that's what he is. And my aim is to, first of all, educate people that this is going on. And I would say, secondly, just give really valuable information to other people who've gone through this or who are actively going through this. So a lot of the reason why I have survived to as far as I've survived right now is because I've gotten a ton of information from the internet, from other people who've gone through it, other people who've been gang stalked, other people who've lost their jobs, vehicles, all kinds of things. And then they were posting on the internet, giving information to other people as well, sharing their story. So first of all, it is emotionally encouraging. Why do I feel like this is so loud? It's emotionally encouraging, but more than that, it's valuable information that's helped me craft a way for myself to get out of this situation. And I've grown spiritually, I've grown emotionally, I've grown in a lot of ways from this situation. So this is what I want to talk about. So normally I take notes, and I make this primarily for my YouTube audience, but normally I take notes because I have multiple points that I want to go over. But tonight I'm just going to talk off my head. I want to talk about walking away from the situation. So first things first, this situation that you're in is, or if you find yourself in this situation, this is meant to render people homeless. There's a specific point, or a specific purpose. So they want you on your knees financially. They want you homeless. They want you dependent on them. And this is what they work really hard at doing, depleting your finances, finding ways to, overcharge you on things, bribing companies to overcharge you and just target you in multiple ways. And all kinds of things. They get desperate. I think it goes, and I know that in the States it's way worse, because in the States they use police, they use mental health services, are very aggressive. If you have young children, then they involve child services in your life. All kinds of things. You got to be really careful. So they really, really, really burden you with a lot of things. However, there are parts of this situation that you need to begin walking away from. So I'm going to share with my situation how I kind of walked away. So I put myself in a situation where financially I do not need to depend on anyone to survive for a number of years. Not just a couple of months, a number of years. they would need to continue gang stalking me for quite some time without me making $1 before I would ever have to crawl back. And if I did have to crawl back, it wouldn't be to them. I wouldn't be crawling back to John Ferreira, because John Ferreira crawled to me. I don't know John Ferreira. So those people clawed and kicked their way into my life. I don't know them. I've never depended on them. They forced themselves into my business and pushed away my actual business and my actual audience. So it gives me so much time. And time is not on their side because they've already taken 2 years to not get the job done. Now, there is a specific purpose. Bankruptcy, mental health issues, anxiety and depression. What else would I say? Bankruptcy, mental health. And it's a lot of pressure. Being gang stalked, being isolated. All of these things are going to lead to a person feeling a lot of pressure. Now, one of the things that they do is they want you to feel pressure 24/7 round the clock. Not get a good night's sleep. Not get any rest. Constantly have burdens. Constantly always have a problem that you need to resolve. Constantly be having conflict with people and all of that stuff. And for me, what I did was every time there's a possibility to have a conflict with a person, I just terminated it right away. I terminated it right away, even if it was a business dealing. So now I am very particular about who I deal with, because they only want to do business with you to create a conflict, to create a rumor. They didn't have things that they could go into my past to say, well, you've done this and you've done that, like concrete things that were truth. And when they were making up stories, the stories wouldn't stick because they didn't know me well enough, nor were they doing appropriate research where anything would actually stick. So they found themselves in a situation where they had to start creating narratives and creating stories and creating issues. So now I'm very particular with who I work with. The second thing is, when you look at friendships, you're going to have people come around just to create issues with you, or to find out, or to be a link to find out what you have going on, because it's hard to attack what you don't understand or what you don't know. So if people know, okay, you're going to open a bakery, then they're like, oh, you're looking for a location, let's go in your general area and let's make sure all the real estate agents or whoever you're working with, or what, that's why they hack you. Or in my case, that's why they hacked me. And I suspect I'm not the only person hacked, obviously, right? They do things that cause you to be very cautious of people and cautious of making connections, and you don't know who's who. They're very, very insistent on creating illusions. So they want situations where you're pushing away the good and the bad. So your discernment is off and you're not really sure. And there are some situations, it's like they do the beginning of the gang stalking very aggressively, and then you just create the nonsense after. So in the beginning, it's very aggressive, but then after, it's like you start overthinking, you start thinking everything is the gang stalking and everything is not. And you got to be very, very careful of that, of being discerning as to what is gang stalking and what is just your mind kind of being conditioned to thinking that everything that's a problem is created by these people. I don't find them to be very bright. Let me give you an example of what I mean, but I don't find them to be very bright. They watch all my videos that I create, all my content for YouTube. Okay? I have said verbatim that I do not pray to Jesus. But when they approach me, they still approach me saying that they believe in Jesus and hoping that that will build relationship equity, when it kind of does the opposite. When they have ideas about you, they remain committed to the idea that they have of you, and they refuse to budge from it. They want to force it to be true. So you're not dealing with people who are logical, who are intelligent, who are problem solvers, who can pivot You're dealing with people who are given step A, step B, step C, step D, and they just follow it down the line. People who didn't have enough confidence, creativity, self-awareness, or self-belief to be able to go out and make a living on their own. They thought it easier to hop on this bandwagon. It's a very lazy way of living life, and they're paying the cost. They're paying the cost of living life that way. When they notice that the things that they're doing are not working, they have a very hard time of pivoting and finding a new way of going about doing what they're supposed to do. They cast a lot of illusions, and then they let your mind run off with itself. They do a lot of things, and then they let you create the narrative around it, and they're in the background laughing. They come and they start with a lot of misinformation about what could be going on. And then you kind of make up a story and you run with it, and you just don't know. So one of the things that I constantly hear you guys say is that you are being targeted on a government watch list, and you don't have any verifiable proof of that. But I understand why you think so, because let me tell you, if I were having the police and like government officials and people that should be trusted in the community, if I were having those kinds of people targeting me, I would say the same thing. But what I want you to do is, think back to when this started. Think back to who you may have had conflict with, where you were working, who you might have been a threat to. But it has to be people with money, because this takes money to carry out, okay? So it can't just be your broke friend or some broke ex, okay? People have to have a significant amount of money to bribe for an experience, to bribe people, especially government officials, for an extended period of time. You have to think about, have people approached you with anything? Is there a consistent person at that time that they kept asking about? Like for me, it was very easy to decode it. Very easy. Here are the consistent things. They came around asking about my ex. They came around while I was with my ex. Everything started once I got with my ex. They kept mentioning Latin countries and traveling to Latin countries. All of these things, and there's more, but all of these things, when I put all of them I was asked verbatim, do you want to sell drugs? When you put all of these things together, it boils down to they want to recruit you to be a drug mule. And your ex is probably a drug mule. And the Latin countries indicate the cartel. That's who's paying for it. See how simple that is? Deductive reasoning. It's not difficult. So think back, and that'll give you an idea of how you can move forward with what's happening. Okay? The idea that I want to introduce, and I want to introduce this idea very early, is the idea of walking away. Because these people have a very specific target. Either get what they need to get done, or you face the consequences of whatever it is. If you're in Miami is a drug port. I would strongly consider the fact that it's probably going to be drug related. You might not know you're being recruited. I'm just saying, okay? Consider it. I've been trying to walk away emotionally since the beginning of last year. But I also was at a phase where I did not know a lot about what was going on. Had I been able to walk away emotionally last year, I wouldn't be able to come on here and give you much advice at all. Because I would have only been in that thing for like maybe 6 months of active gang stalking, because it started in the summer, I would not have been able to actually do the things that I'm doing right now, because a lot of information would have been missed. I had to experience so many things so that I can dodge so many more things right now. This is why I said it's a cycle, it's a process, and you want to stay in long enough for you to figure out what to do and how to do it. So I had to stay in. On top of that, when they feel you emotionally pulling away, they are gonna go harder to stay on your mind and in your existence. I'm talking about, so we at the store, at that particular store, had a Google TV, and this guy has everything hacked. Like, it could literally be like, it could be like a little game site that forces me to have a membership. He has that hacked. Okay, this is someone with a compulsive obsessive disorder. Okay, now I'm not licensed to be a medical professional, but I'm gonna tell you, this is not a normal level of obsession. Obsession to the point of self-destruction is not normal. That's where it becomes a disorder. So, on the TV, one day, I was relaxing, I was doing my thing, and I wasn't even thinking about it. A song comes up and it says, "Don't You Forget About Me." And this is close to the end of the day. Okay, I don't take that as a coincidence. These kinds of things, they will gang stalk you even harder, double down. They will have more people following you. They will purposely have ads come up on your stuff. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that'll happen when you decide to emotionally move away. But you need to make that decision, and you need to start now. Even though your cycle is not, like myself, your cycle is not done for another year, but you need to practice moving away emotionally. You need to practice what that feels like, because you have people clinging and clawing at you on your way out. They are not going to make it easy. They're going to be standing in the doorway. It's like having a crazy ex. They're going to be standing in the doorway. They're going to be beating down on you. They're going to be pulling at you. They're going to be clawing at you. Nobody's going to make it easy for you to leave. And do you know why? Because they haven't accomplished the mission that they were sent in to do. And that is very specific. Somebody paid for a very specific outcome of what should happen to you. So if you're not homeless, if you're not mentally unwell, if you haven't lost all your confidence, if you haven't lost all of your social network, then the job's not done. And if the job's not done, then you can't leave, you can't walk away in their mind. You need to practice how to walk away early. It's gonna take time. So for me, when I walk the streets these days, things that used to bother me or I used to be hyper aware of, I am no longer. I cannot find passion for this in the way that I used to. It's not to say that if I don't think of particular things that I wouldn't get upset about, like what I've had to go through, but I have so much perspective on it that I know that it had to happen. And I've also come to a place of just releasing control of my situation and allowing allowing it to play itself through. So there are things that have to happen. You know, there are things that could have happened last year, but it wasn't the right time, so they're happening now. Things, they take time. And one of the benefits that I have now is, before I had to trust God and just trust a process blindly, but now God actually shows me, like, this is why it's happening now, and had it happened before, this wouldn't have happened, and had it happened before, you wouldn't have known this, and you wouldn't have gotten access to this, and yes, you had to meet this person, and yes, you had to talk to this person, and yes, you had to make this mistake. every single mistake that I made taught me a major lesson that I need now. People that I got too close to, people that I opened up to, I had to make all of those mistakes to prepare me for where I am going now. So this is why your cycle doesn't close, because it's not lessons of things that you're doing wrong, and so it's like I'm slapping your wrist, you need to learn your lesson. It's mistakes that you make and you're like, oh, this is the proper way to do it. It's kind of like, it's not kind of like, it's like you're building something you've never built before. You're doing something that you've never done before. And so all of it is going to be trial and error. Right now, I'm at a phase in my business that I've never been at before. And so I'm building something from scratch in a sense. And so there's going to be tons of trial and error. So I could look at it as, oh, people are getting in my way. But to be honest with you, I'm glad they got in my way, because I probably didn't want to move forward with some of those ideas. Thank God I did not invest heavily in some of those ideas. Have I taken losses? Yes. I've made mistakes, but I have perspective on how to move forward. But as long as you keep moving forward, as long as you keep taking steps forward, as long as you keep making strides, and there's no medal or trophy for how slow or fast you figure it out, just as long as you keep your momentum. Even if it's slow, it's totally fine. Whatever pace you're taking is the pace you're supposed to take. That is the way that your story was developed, at that pace. Maybe your pace that you're taking is being delayed for a particular reason. Maybe it needs to take longer for whatever reason. Now, for me, I have different perspectives. I have a spiritual perspective on things. I have a very realistic perspective on things, a very logical perspective. I'm a planner, so I have a methodical process on things as well. I look at this from different angles. And to be honest, from every single angle I look at it, it just makes sense in the way that it's unfolding. It makes sense. And for the things that I've asked for, okay, so the kind of business that I want and the kind of legacy that I want to live in my life, I needed to know that there are very organized, corrupt, I want to call it organizations because it's loosely organized, organizations that are out there. Could you imagine never having gone through gang stalking, and let's say you own an airport and these people put together a presentation for you and it's so impressive, and you transfer the money and you sign a fake deed and you're thinking that you're buying an airport in Nigeria, and then you show up and there's no land, the deed doesn't exist or nothing because you're naive and you've never been through this before. See, this is why you gotta learn about the treachery now. You want to go through this when you're broke. You think you want to go through this when you're rich? You think you want to go through this after 30, 40, 50 years of really building something and putting something together? You want to go through this in your 60s and your 70s? You got to go through it now. Walk through it and learn how to walk out of it. And take those extremely valuable experiences with you. Because the feeling that you're going to have after is that you can conquer the world, okay? Right now, I am so strong that I can move anywhere in the world with a backpack and feel confident that I'm ready to encounter whatever I need to encounter. Not just in the sense of like from, not being scared, but just in the sense of knowing that I have the resilience, I have the patience, I have the stamina, and that I can keep going. I can keep going. I can see things through. I can start something and I trust myself to learn and to keep pushing through. Okay? This is supposed to make you stronger, not mentally unwell. That's the lesson here. You're supposed to find your strength. You're supposed to tap into your power. This, be a potato and not an egg. Okay? This is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of heat, but you can stand it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in it. And it's meant to transform you. It's meant to transform you. This process, while they've tried to slander me and destroy my business, I think has made people respect me more than they ever could. It is more undeniable now than it ever was. I think it is more apparent now than it ever was how strong I am, how determined I am, how protected I am, and how blessed I am. In my city, they may not tell me, but I'm a legend. I'm a living legend. Everybody's scared of these people. Everybody was scared of John Ferreira, except me. And John Ferreira is scared of the cartel, and I'm not fucking scared of them either. Because God said so. That's why. Because God said so. And I don't know about you guys, but God is the only thing that I fear. God is the only thing that I fear. Because I know God is real, because I've seen it. I know God is real from before all of this. That's why I've survived this. God is real, like physically real. Not I'm just praying to an apparition. Not I'm sending prayers up and I'm not sure what's good. God is real, 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 real. Ask John Ferreira how real God is. God will put real hands on you. Like physically. Physically. God is real. You don't have to be scared of this. That's an option. And if you could choose to have fear or to live or not live in fear, I'm sure you want to choose to not live in fear. Show your face, okay? Tell your story. Stories do not die in you. Stories are not meant to die inside of you. Tell your story. When you tell your story, it prompts other people to be brave to tell their story. When you tell your story and you show strength and you show courage, it makes other people think like, well, if they did it and they're still alive, if they did it and they're still okay, then I don't know. Maybe I should tell my story, because people start getting, numbers start piling up, and there begins to be strength in numbers. Tell your story. We can create community, and there is a community. People share tips. They all have pretty much the same process, and so that process then leads to people kind of understanding how it works, until we get to the point where they're either going to completely change the process or it can no longer exist. It's one of the two. That's why we got to keep talking about it. Yeah, you could take your attention away from people gang stalking you on the street, but you could still learn about it. You can still be informed, be educated. There's a certain point where it loses its luster. It loses the point. Like for me right now, they're gang watching. They're not gang stalking. They can't do the same things anymore that they used to do. For whatever reason. Who cares what the reason is? I don't care. But even when they do it, it's like, I just see it now, to be honest. I'll try to explain it. I see it now as like a random occurrence. It's just odd, but it's not like frightening. So I'll give you an example. I went in somewhere. Yeah, this was today. I went in somewhere and came back, and a car was like parked right in front of my car, and the guy was sitting in the car and was just sitting there. Now, me a couple months ago would have been like, oh my God, I know they're trying to send me a message because of all the spots. Why is this guy there? And he drove off after I left. He didn't take my spot. But even still, why would he be in front of my car versus the string of other cars, right? I just didn't give it that much thought today. I just really didn't. And when you look at the face of the guy, like, the guy's disinterested. He's not like menacing or whatever. Like, somebody told him to go there and go look for my car and sit right there. Big deal, right? Even if he had been menacing, even if I had come up and he had been menacing, so fucking what? Somebody always has an issue. Somebody always has an issue. Think back to before you were gang stalked. Did somebody not always have an issue? Somewhere you went, there was always someone who had some type of issue. And did you let it bother you then? Not really. You might have said to yourself, like, what the hell are you looking at? And then got in your car and drove off. That's what I do. Somebody's sitting outside here and somebody's doing this. Honestly, I'm deep in thought, and sometimes I just don't notice like I used to. Or if I do notice, it doesn't do anything. Even if they were to, I remember, listen, this is how I know it was really, like, I literally didn't care anymore. I remember I was driving my daughter to school. We were getting out of the car and a van drove by really, really slow, and he looked at us and he was laughing and he drove off. Typical gang stalker activity, right? I mean, we saw him, but it didn't register in my mind. It didn't register in my mind like, oh, gang stalker. Until, like, I think a couple of days later, I was like, wait, that was kind of odd. So it's like, that's where you want to get. You want to get to a point where naturally it just doesn't have an effect anymore, even if it's happening full force. It just doesn't. Look, these people can't come out of their car and come to your car and open the door and drag you out and say, I'm stalking. Like, the most they can do is drive by and do something like that. That's the most that can happen. You gotta start shrugging them off. You gotta start not making eye contact. You gotta start not focusing on it. It's gonna take time. Don't expect to be mastering this in a week. But this is what life is about. Mastery. People have been paid to get your attention. They've been paid a lot of money. Okay? When ads pop across your screen on whatever platform, somebody paid for that ad to come across your screen. They paid a lot of money for that. And in doing so, they were paid to get your attention. You get to decide if you're going to give them your attention or not. And I am telling you right now, you need to not give them your attention anymore. This is 75% of the battle of walking away. Walking away doesn't necessarily, you don't have to move to walk away. You don't. You can just walk away. You can walk away right in your same house. You can walk away in your same business. You can walk away in your same job. It's a mental thing. It's not a physical thing. It's not a physical thing. And so I remember when I was going through all of this, I saw a meme and it said, it was some quote, I can't remember by who, but it said something about like, what has an impact the first couple of times will not startle you after an extended period of time. Something to that extent. And I said to myself, you know what? After a while of this happening, it's just not going to have the same impact. The mistake that you guys are making is you're 2 years in, 3 years in of being gang stalked, and you're still being startled and you're still scared. You shouldn't be a year into doing anything and still be scared. You should be a year into something and you could still, if you're a year into exercising and you're still getting upset about getting up and going to the gym or staying on the treadmill, you're wasting your time. Like, something is up. You gotta get used to being under pressure. Like, I live under pressure. Like, I've gotten comfortable under pressure. Extreme pressure. I don't get frustrated anymore when things don't work. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to stick at it and figure it out, or I'm going to put it down for today, wake up tomorrow, or wake up another day and get back at it with a new perspective and get it done. And it gets done. Simple and plain. Somebody who is a bully today, somebody who can scare you today, is just a regular person tomorrow. It's like women who are in abusive relationships where a man is beating them. The first couple times he's scary. After that, they're like, what are you going to do? You're going to beat me? He beats them. They take their beating and they go. You know what I'm saying? That's how it's supposed to go. You know, in my particular situation in Toronto, they really allowed that man to be a bully because nobody challenged him. Grown men cowered down. Grown men let this man bulldoze them, push them out of business and do the most. And somebody should have stayed in the situation and kept it pushing. Well, that someone is me. And I'm a girl. And that's what gives him the most pressure, is that I'm a girl. I'm a black girl. He doesn't want to... I don't know who the hell gave human beings the idea that the color of your skin means anything and has any sort of significance. The color of your skin is simply, I don't know what word I'm looking for, a byproduct of where you came from in the world. That is all it is. You know, imagine if all of us were the same color, we all look the same. That's what they're trying to do. When girls get plastic surgery, all the surgery is the same. Everybody's going for the same look, etc., etc. Could you imagine? It's a sign of a lower IQ when you think that the color of someone's skin makes them inferior. It's ridiculous, you know? And I don't take it seriously. I can't blame someone for a silly idea that they have, because it's probably hereditary. Okay? So I don't even hate racists, because you know what? Racists love me too. They meet me at first, and on first sight, they're very standoffish. And then their walls come down almost immediately, and they're like, oh, I like her. John Ferreira, he likes me as a person. He does. He likes me as a person. It pisses him off because he's also intimidated by me and he's insecure of me. He's obsessed with me. He doesn't understand me and he doesn't know why. But he likes me as a person. He does. He does. And it is what it is, because I'm a likable person. Like, that's the end of the story. I'm a likable person. Everybody likes me, even people who hate me, especially people who hate me. Especially people who hate me. People who are obsessed with me love me the most. They see all the positive traits in me. They want to have it for themselves. They want to be able to be around me without feeling intimidated or inferior. But the thing is, they keep comparing themselves to me, and that's not necessary. It's not at all. And I think it doesn't make them feel good that I'm so loving and so generous on top of it, because it would have been easier to hate me if we could be at war and we could be at odds. But it's much more difficult when the person that you hate is so loving and so kind and so, you know, all of those things. So you have to kind of like beat it out of them. So like now they're mean too, and then you can say, see, I told you that's what it was. But it is what it is, and it's infuriating when other people love them too. Right? I mean, in my situation, it's like, look, there's only so long of dragging the same story out before it's tiring. It's tiring for me. Now, I don't think that's going to stop justice from playing out, for sure. It's definitely not gonna, I need my justice, okay? And I don't think it's gonna stop, you know, karma from continuing to gnaw at people and eat away at their lives. People are facing their karma, but I don't need to focus on that every day. I have other things that I want to focus on. So every day that you find a bit of healing, every day that you walk away from it, every day that you put it in your rear view, you start feeling lighter and lighter and lighter, and you're able to manifest from that place. You're able to visualize a future for yourself. You're able to see what the next steps are, and you're able to just propel yourself. This can happen in a matter of days. It just really depends on how committed you are to walking away. But you must walk away. You don't wait for this to be done. The only way they're walking away from you is when they achieve their targets. You're not waiting for that. I'm telling you, you're not waiting for that. You got to practice walking away every day. You got to practice having days where you're not thinking about gang stalking, not even one day. If you have a day off that you're home, start doing that. Watch something on YouTube, Netflix, whatever. Play some music. Do something. Do something. Do something else. Work on a business idea. Get fit. Work out. Think about what you want for your future. Get some magazines, get a Bristol board, cut out pictures of what you would like, envision your new house. What do you want for yourself? If those people don't achieve their target and you start getting happy and you start manifesting and you start thinking about your future and they actively see you doing what you want to do anyway, I don't know what happens when they don't hit their targets. Like you see in this particular situation, the people that they owe are very dangerous. In my situation, the people that they owe are dangerous. So it's a dangerous situation. I don't know how it would work if it were a corporation. What is a corporation going to do? Take gang stalkers to court? It's illegal. And it's not supposed to exist because they keep gaslighting everybody that it doesn't exist. But the police know it exists. The police have many people talk about this. And any federal, and I would stop reporting to local police and I would go to federal police. And any federal police organization has heard about this over and over. They know, they have stories, it's documented, they can tell you. Okay, they can tell you. So, my advice, never ever let anybody control your life, your existence, and your enjoyment of your life. Okay? Nobody tells you what to do. And if that means you have to fight, if you have to take a pause from your life and go on a side quest and fight for your freedom for a year or 2 or 3 or 4, 2, 3, 4 years versus a lifetime of being in bondage or watching yourself give away 10, 20 years, especially of your youth. You're young right now. Get it out of the way. Start today. And get it out of the way. Don't stay in a situation, an abusive situation. Like, you know, when you think about drug mules, they don't let drug mules go. You're going to be a drug mule, and the only way you get out of it is either you're going to go to jail, where you have a record and you can't travel anymore, so you're useless to them, or you die. You die out of that contract. There's no other way that they're letting you go. So this is why it was very important for me to fight my way out of that. And drug mules are not just them drug mules. Their kids have to be drug mules. Whoever's in the house. Anybody that a drug mule associates with has to also be a drug mule. That's how they operate. They come after complete networks. I thought it was just families. They come after networks of people. So now all your friends have to get approached because they don't know anybody that you might have told something to, they come after. This is how it works. So what you're doing right now, you're resisting, you're standing up. Grow yourself within this process. Is it difficult? Yes. Is it rigorous? Yes. But can you imagine what this kind of thing would train you for? Could you just even imagine? I'm like doing a whole reading here while I'm doing this. Cards just keep popping up. Can you even imagine? Look, if I show you guys, I might as well show you guys. I don't know if you guys know how to read cards, but this is obviously fighting and defending yourself. People have infighting, unbearable burdens, and this is a job you're not getting paid for. This is a job where the money, the toil and labor, it's not coming in. It's not coming in. Look at these 3 cards together. That's what people are going through right now. Unbearable burdens. They don't have money to pay this back. This is debt. They don't have money to pay this back. And that's unfortunate. You should have made better choices in your life. It's not a viable career path. It's not sustainable. You gotta think one day it's gonna come down. It's a house of cards. One day it's gonna come down, you know. And the way God operates is, if God knows you don't like black women or you don't like black people, God's gonna choose a black person to do it. Just to teach you a lesson. Who do you think you are when you call yourself a God? And God's gonna show favor to the very people that you have the least amount of respect for. God's gonna show undue favor. Really stick it in and make it public, so it's humiliating, so that people know, and that your fall from grace is public. I have a big fire going here. Okay, that's not going out anytime soon. Look at this. It's crazy. I don't want to blow it out too hard because I don't want the ashes to fall all over the place. But as I was saying, you want to see the ashes everywhere. You want to take your time with this one. Take your time, but grow from it, learn from it, become a better version of yourself. I want to leave you guys with the same things that I always leave you with. Please be rational in everything. You are more than welcome to your spiritual beliefs, but when it comes to going to the police, when it comes to talking to people about what you're going through, unless people share your beliefs as well, I would not go into the spiritual component with them. I would be logical about it. Just speak about the facts. Speak about the patterns of what's going on. Be logical. Be logical. Because with all spirituality, you must have balance between reality and spirituality. You need both. You need both. See, this is what you want right here. You need both. You can't just have one. You can't just have one. And you can't be too much of one. I've been too much on both sides. I've been too spiritual, and then I've been too realistic. I prefer to be too spiritual, to be honest with you. I loved it. When you're too spiritual, you are not even operating like a normal person. Okay? It's like walking in the spirit. It's like you're constantly hey Olive, this is my cat. She will not come on camera. She will not play these games with me. Hey Olive. Hi Olive. She's so pretty. She's so soft. Oh my god, I wish she'd be on camera. She's trying to get out. These cats open doors. It's ridiculous. Hey Olive, come. Anyway, be realistic in everything you do. Please try to have people take you seriously in what you're talking about. Be logical. Take care of your mental health, because your mind is very, very, very important at this time. Okay, your mind is all you have. if you have nothing left, if they take everything, if they take all your money, if they take your ability to take care of yourself, your mind is what's going to get you back. That's why you really need to take care of your mind and your body and your spirit. Okay? Above all else, healing is not optional. It is mandatory, compulsory. Do or die. You must take care of yourself. If you didn't see the value before, you have to do it now. Do not start depending on substances to take care of yourself, because you're very vulnerable. So you're going to really fall hard if you fall into numbing yourself and not facing yourself. That's what addiction is. It's not facing yourself. Okay? I would be abstinent right now. This is not the time to be dating. This is not the time to be having relations with people and all that. They're going to use all those things to their advantage. Take your time. It's okay to be abstinent for an extended period of time. It's good for you. Make sure you're meditating. I take baths, spiritual baths constantly. You don't have to call it a spiritual bath. You can call it a spa bath, whatever you want to call it. But self-care is important. Man, woman, or child, it doesn't matter. Take care of yourself. Okay? I'm burning sage like I always do. And sage has a very calming effect, just as like an herb. Or is it an herb? It's a dried plant, bush, whatever it is. It has a very calming effect. And I find that the whole house is calm after I cleanse it, and I keep my house clean so that I don't have to clean up. Jobs are much more difficult. Preventative measures are much better than your house being dirty and you really got to clean it up. All right. I only have 8 more minutes. I'm going to read these cards because I pulled these cards and I think they're very relevant to what I'm saying today. So I'm going to, first one, you are doing your best and that is enough. Any difficulties you face will not last forever. Release the thoughts and feelings that don't feel good. Focus all of your energy on love, happiness, and your hopes and dreams. That's exactly what I'm saying. Just focus. You don't need to do more. You don't need to hold yourself to any timeline or anything like that. You're doing what you can do. Okay? But do start dreaming, start thinking about like what you want and where you want to go. They're all good. Go back to the heart of who you truly are. There you will find peace. Look at your life in its entirety. Acknowledge any old wounds and then release them. Use what they taught you as added strength. Keep moving forward with a renewed sense of confidence. Make today your new beginning. Try to leave any past mistakes in the past. Don't allow them to weigh you down any longer. Move forward today with the confidence and knowing that you have better and brighter days ahead. Gang stalking really is just a process. It's a phase. You can't let it last longer than it should. And even if the gang stalking is happening around you, if you're not noticing it, then it's pointless. That's what's happening with me right now. Any remnants of whatever's left, they have days where they really want to prove a point. This guy really wants to prove a point. And he wants to be tit for that. Tat, like, oh, you escaped yesterday, so today I'm going to go harder. If it doesn't have an effect, it's pointless. It's pointless to the person sitting there or standing there. It's pointless to me. It's like, it's not going to make a difference. All right. It's time to hit the reset button. Clear out the old so that room is available for the new to enter. Trust that better things are coming fast. Prepare to move to the next phase of your life. This is your rebirth. Welcome this beautiful brand new energy. You've got this. All of these are about walking away. All of these are about finding your own peace. All of these are about resetting what's going on with you. That's what these things are about. That is what all of these things are about. Justice will come and things will play out. And, you know, when they start getting desperate, they start making mistakes. The work starts getting very sloppy. Right now I'm dealing with someone who injects drugs into their veins multiple times a day. Someone who's not okay, someone who's extremely desperate, someone who has isolated themselves, someone who's been exposed but who still has to continue on, someone who doesn't know where I'm going, someone who's paranoid, someone who's hallucinating, someone who speaks to themselves, someone who's extremely unwell. I win on that basis alone. Every single thing every single outcome they wanted from me, they're facing. Be it poverty, being mentally unwell, being physically unwell, being slandered and exposed publicly and humiliated and mortified and being in extreme isolation and being scared to leave their house. All of it, the list is long. The list is extremely long. Partnerships that have been broken down, loss of income, starting back, if they're going to start back from scratch, getting caught up in the law. And these are all things that this person did themselves. Hallucinating, saying that I'm responsible for all of this when they've been the one gang stalking me, having no credibility and having an inability to defend themselves in court because they're not going to make sense. Probably going to lose a case right now. Just not okay. But not okay enough to not face the consequences of their actions because it's very coordinated, very organized, very well thought through. So they knew what they were doing enough to be effective. So, anyway, allow God to work in your life and allow things to play out. And, may the odds ever be in our favor. Please take care of yourself. I'm sending lots of love, and I'm very proud to be a part of this community, to be honest. I think we're very strong. I think we're survivors. I think most people would not even begin to be able to resist and stand firm as long as we have. So the YouTube is God's Way 1019. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you're going through. I'd love to interact with you guys, and I love to get to know your stories. If you're not posting yet, you should post about what your story is. Tell your story, how things have happened, etc., etc. Have a great day. Good night.